Hello everyone, this is Ashley from Ashley's Creations. I thought I would try something new today and use a voiceover in my video so that way I could maybe speed up the video and make it so that it wasn't as long. So we're going to make this card today. I made it for the 2015 Stamp-a-Faire by Papertrey Ink. It was the Patterns Challenge. I used that card sketch right there. That was number 2 by Betsy Veldman. It was the one with the lines and then the flowers with the sentiment right in the middle. That one was my favorite out of all the challenges or out of all the patterns. So I thought I'd go ahead and pick that one. So I'm going to make my own background here. I'm going to use distress inks. I'm starting with the fossilized amber. I'm laying that on pretty thick. I want it to be pretty dark. I'm going to use, I'm sorry, did I say fossilized amber? I meant abandoned coral. I'm using the abandoned coral right now. I am going to be using the picked raspberry and fossilized coral later. So I'm just laying the abandoned coral on pretty thick here, going up the card about a little bit over 1/3 or so. I don't want a lot of the yellow at the end, so I'm trying to take up more of the space with the coral, and then I'll take up more with the raspberry here. So moving on to the picked raspberry, I'm just blending that into the abandoned coral down there and kind of going up the card, making it pretty dark, trying to take up a lot of the card there. Trying to blend it, going back and forth. I really love these 3 colors together. I think they look really pretty. Here I am just blending out the coral a little bit more, trying to get that line so it's not as harsh. I think it ends up blending pretty well here. And I really like the way that turns out. I'm just making it darker because I want it to be nice and bold and vibrant. Now I'm moving on to the fossilized amber, and I only want a little bit at the top here. I just want like a little pop of yellow there. So I left only a little bit of space, and that's why I brought the pink up a lot, because I want kind of like an orange tint in between there. I think this was a little bit harder of a line to blend out, but it was still fun to try, and I liked the way it turned out. I liked that there was like an orange layer, so kind of, even though I only used 3 colors, it turned out, it looked like there were about 4. So I'm just putting the fossilized amber on really thick here. I want it to be really dark. I'm trying to blend that with the raspberry. I'm coming back in with the raspberry, trying to blend those 2 out together more. It's kind of a hard blend, like I said. But you can kind of see that the orange is coming through there. The line's starting to become less harsh. I'm working down there at the abandoned coral side now. Coming back with the amber, trying blending it out a little bit more, making a little bit more orange, making it darker at the top. I'm pulling in the fossilized amber. I think this is the last time I do the amber. Yes, just trying to blend that all out together. I really like the way that this background turned out. It just kind of reminds me of a sunset. I think it's really pretty. So now I'm going to take the Papertrey Ink cover plate stripes horizontal, and I'm going to go ahead and run that through my Big Shot and cut the cover plate out. Now, this was a really hard, awkward angle for me. I had the tripod in the way here, and I was using the shim just so that way the pieces would pop out a lot easier. So that made it harder to turn the arm of the Big Shot, and having the tripod in my way made it really hard. So there I am trying to go through the tripod, and I'm going around the tripod, and it was just a really hard angle for me. Okay, so I have a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of computer paper here, and then I cut the same frame out of True Black cardstock from Papertrey Ink. I'm going to use that as my frame. I'm going to pop in all the little colored pieces in there. So I'm just attaching my frame to the computer paper. I laid adhesive all along the paper so that way I could just pop the pieces back in. I'm cutting off the extra because I don't want that to show. So I'm going to start at the top here with the yellow. I'm going to pull my stripes out one by one. I'm just going to piece them back in, kind of like they're a little puzzle. Start with the yellow, then work my way down to the pink, then the coral. I was using my tweezers there to kind of poke it out, but I figured it was easier to just kind of bend my plate up a little bit and peel them out. That worked a little bit easier for me. So now I'm not going to throw this frame away. I'm actually going to save that for another project. I used the black stripes from the frame, and I used those inside the colorful one. And I thought I'd make a card using that. That's all I've made so far, but I will go back and make something later. So when I do, I'll probably make a card for it and share it with you guys. So now I'm using the True Black twine from Papertrey Ink. I'm wrapping it around the top of my card 3 times. I'm going to tie it off into a little bow up here. Now, I don't like my bow loops very big, so right here I'm just fiddling with them to try and get them to be a little bit smaller. And then pulling it tight, and I'm going to go ahead and cut off the extra. Some people put these huge bow loops on their projects, and I just really don't like that. I think the little bows look a lot nicer. So now we're going to go ahead and work on these flowers. These flowers are from the Papertrey Ink set Beautiful Brush Strokes. The stamp set was from a Make It Market kit that came out several months ago, so it is no longer available, but it is one of my favorite sets that I've gotten from them. I really like those flowers. I like how they layer. So we're going to use that medium flower, the little flower, the medium leaf, the small leaf, and then the other flower right there. I'm not quite sure what that is, but like a cottonwood or whatever. Okay, so I'm keeping my Stampin' Scrub handy because I'm going to go ahead and clean my stamps off in between each stamping because I'm going to reuse some of them. So I'm starting with Berry Sorbet for my big flower. That's the medium flower. But I'm going to go ahead and make this a reddish flower. And I found that doing Berry Sorbet, Pure Poppy, and then Terracotta Tile as my top layer kind of makes it look more red. So I don't really have a lot of red inks. A lot of companies that I have, Papertrey Ink only has 1, and Stampin' Up! Only has, I think, like, I want to say 2 or 3 reds. I don't have a lot of reds, so I was trying to figure out what I could layer together to make a red flower. I kind of want to try the Altenew Crisp inks. I've heard those are really nice for layering, and I think they have a red set. So I think I might end up picking that up. So now I'm working on that small flower. I used Sweet Blush for the bottom one, and I used Summer Sunrise for the top one as the bottom layer. I'm moving on to the middle layer, and I'm using Hibiscus Burst, and I'm going to go ahead and use Orange Zest for that orange flower. I just love the way these flowers look. So it kind of gives you the watercolor look without actually having to watercolor. So the top layer, I'm going to use Raspberry Fizz for the pink flower. That's my standard pink layering from Papertrey Ink. I always use those. And then for the top layer of the orange flower, I'm going to use Canyon Clay. I think that makes it look like a nice, bold orange flower. Okay, so now I'm going to work on this other thing right here. I'm going to use Winter Wisteria as the bottom layer. And as you guys know, I always get that mixed up between the Winter Wisteria and Wisteria Wonder from Stampin' Up. So it's a good thing that it's sitting on the table so that way I can kind of remember which one it is. I'm going to do the top layer there in Royal Velvet. This is my favorite color of all of my inks. I love Royal Velvet. Purple is my favorite color, and I just love that purple. It's so deep and rich. So now I'm going to do the little stems here with Simply Chartreuse. I'm going to be hiding these behind the other flowers, but I thought I'd go ahead and put the stems on just in case the top of it poked out a little bit. So that way it wouldn't just be white. While I have the Simply Chartreuse out, I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom layer of my leaf here. Now, I couldn't look at it over the top because I didn't want to get in the way of the camera, so it is a little bit off, but that's okay. It still looks good. Now, Papertrey Ink didn't include a die for the small flower here, or I'm sorry, the small leaf here. So I just went ahead and stamped it off on some scratch paper that I have there, and I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut it out after I'm done stamping. I'm using Ripe Avocado for the top layer, and Ripe Avocado again for the top layer of this other leaf here. Now, I absolutely love my dies, so even if it's a die that is really super simple, something that I could cut out on my own, I'm going to buy it just because it makes crafting so much easier, and I love it. So I really wish Papertrey Ink had included dies for this little leaf, but they didn't. I thought maybe I had lost it when I was making this card, and I wondered if there was one at one point and I lost it, but I looked back at the when they released it to look at the picture, and there isn't a die for it, so I was like, thank God I didn't lose that. S'more's in the camera here. She was on my desk, so she just wanted to say hi. So hi, S'more. So these were easy enough to fussy cut out, so it wasn't a huge problem. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my tape runner on the back of those. And then on the back of my big leaf. I'm going to start with the big leaf because that's my starting point and it helps me build up the rest of my scene there. I'm going to put a Stampin' Dimensional on the back of my red flower and go ahead and pop that one up. I'm using the orange flower to kind of help me guide where that leaf is going to go. Normally I put those flowers down and then kind of shove the leaves underneath, but I thought this would be easier to kind of put the leaf down then the flower. Now at this point I realized that I lost my leaf. I have no idea where it is. It is missing. You guys saw it there a minute ago and then it was gone. So I was looking all around. Maybe it got stuck to something. Maybe it got stuck to my card. Maybe it got stuck to one of my flowers or something. But I couldn't find it for the life of me. So I just thought I'd go ahead and stamp another one out here and just recut it because it didn't take very long. So while I was doing this voiceover just now, like right before I started or right as I was doing the beginning of this video, I realized that the leaf got stuck to one of my Alex and Annie bracelets. So I don't know if you'll see that later in the video, but yeah, so it is now sitting next to me on my couch because I pulled it off one of my bracelets. So yeah, I was losing my mind. I thought I was going crazy. I got up and walked away, but no, it got stuck to my bracelet. So I'm just going to go ahead now and put the tape runner on that again. And I'm going to use my pink flower to figure out where I want to put it. And then I'm going to put Stampin' Dimensionals, on the back of those two flowers. But I'm going to go ahead and stick down my other ones first here before I put my other ones down. Okay, so now before I do the sentiment, I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of my cards together. I have a piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch black fun foam. And I have a piece of 4 1/4 by 11 inch true black cardstock from Papertrey Ink that I folded in half. So it's a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card. And I'm going to go ahead and layer that down. I'm sticking them together with score tape. I have a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of cardstock here. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the greeting. I used the enclosed leaf from Papertrey Ink. It's the mini set. And I'm stamping it in true black. It says, "So grateful for you." I just love that font. I think it's really pretty. I'm going to go ahead and attach that to my card. So now I can go back and work on the on the greeting. So I used this thanks die cut. It is the Papertrey Ink wet paints cut die. I cut it 3 times already and stuck it together just to save time. And now I'm using the fossilized amber. I'm just rubbing it on a scrap piece of Stamper Select white there. And that's what I did for all the other ones as well, just so that they'd all be the same color. I wanted it to match the background. So I obviously don't have Tim Holtz paper because I don't believe he has any paper. So I just went ahead and rubbed that on to make my own paper. And I wanted to have kind of like a shimmer to it. And I had recently watched Jennifer McGuire's video where she did the faux metal with the Distress inks and the Perfect Pearls. And I thought of that and thought, ooh, that'd be really cool to try here. So I used the Perfect Pearls color of the Perfect Pearls. And I just brushed it onto my cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and run that through my die cut machine off camera because I didn't want to bring my Big Shot back into the frame. It would have been too hard to move everything out of the way. So now I'll have that thanks cut out 4 times and it'll just give it some nice dimension on the card front. I'm using my 2-way glue pen to glue them together. I think I kind of ruined my 2-way glue pen. I don't think I capped it all the way the last time I used it. So now the nub is like really hard and dry. It still comes out, but it comes gushing out. So you can see that really pretty shimmer on that die cut there. But yeah, so I think I might have done something to it. It still works, but it's a little hard. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue that on there, and you can see how pretty that is on the front of that card. So that's the finished card. I hope you guys liked it. I actually made 4 of them, so I have 4 here. So I hope you guys like it. Thank you for watching. Bye.